through correspondence and reading her stuff here and there for a number of years. She does the Manzanita Review. Is that what it's called? Manzanita Poetry and Prose of the Motherlode and Sierra. So it kind of focuses on us, our end of the state, which is it's kind of a privilege to be in. I've had the opportunity to have poems in here. I think Molly has had poems in here. Christine, have you had poems in here? You will. It's wonderfully done. Yeah, it's a perfectly bound book. It's more of an anthology than actually a review. And she's been, I think this is moving from a project that's been her child for a long time to become part of the Calaveras County Arts Council's project. I think they've turned it into a nonprofit as well, a 501c3. Anyway, Monica has some wonderful stuff to bring us. She's driven all the way up here. She said she enjoyed her ride. She came up through the canyon, which takes a little while. And I would like to welcome Monica Rose with a K here this evening to share her poems with us. Please do welcome Monica.
That's a warm welcome. Nevada County, this is a class act. I love you guys. I realized just how beautiful the place that we live in, taking that drive again. It'd been a while. I did that years ago and hadn't been back that windy route, and I love it. It's beautiful. Bill is in this book. He's too shy. I don't know if he's read your poem here. I should before we leave. We're expanding. We're going to be putting out at least one, maybe two a year. And finding some funding for that is challenging, but we've got a great crew and a new staff, a large staff. So we're expanding the press as well. It's a nonprofit press, and we're going to be printing people's books and collections. So keep us in mind in the future. We want to provide opportunities for young writers and emerging writers and continue the careers of writers up here in our area. And I'm proud of this little thing. But a lot of future here. A lot of power in our community. I am from Calaveras County. I live in Mountain Ranch, which is near San Andreas. I don't know if you guys have been up that way. California Caverns, that area. It's a little remote at some time. And we're 10 minutes from the hospital, which is kind of nice too, if you're going about 90 down a very treacherous road. But we've lived up here. I'm a transplant from Los Angeles, and I'm thinking, oh, she's not one of us. But I am. I used to practically live up in the southern Sierra Nevada and came to love this topography and the land that we've got. And the quickest route out of LA, I took it, so I married my husband because I knew he would want to get out. And we carved a new life. We moved up. We kept moving up. We went to Fresno County, went up in Kings Canyon near the park. Started to build a house. It didn't work out. Moved further north. Lived in Stockton. That's an experience. And then moved east where we wanted to be up in the foothills, and so I just love it. I'm going to start reading. I think Bill said something about taking something with you. I don't know what that was. But my first poem, I have a collection coming out in October, and my first poem is sort of the launching place for the book. And it's called You Can Take It With You. For some years I've been interested in museums, exhibits, people who die, things like that. Bodies Revealed, has anyone seen that in the past? Yeah, it's an interesting one. Anyway, I wrote this poem kind of thinking about what's going to last, what will remain. After visiting the Asian Museum years ago, seeing those unearthed pots with the calligraphy of their family name, and the stories that were written on the pots. I thought, you know, what will remain here? A dashboard? I'm thinking the steering wheel's going to last a long time in the ground fill. So kind of look around and think about what will last. I'm thinking, someone just said that what CDs have a 5-year shelf life or something for data. I don't know. Is that true? You guys, have you heard this? It was a shock to me. I went to a publisher's meeting and they said, oh yeah, 5 years technically for the data, one little scratch, you know. So I'm really worried about what we're keeping for the future. And I'm really thinking about putting some of these poems on stone, you know, etching. You get an etcher and you just get that done and bury it in some crypt and vault and just wait and see, because what will they think about our culture years from now? What will they have to remind them? Blow dryer. I wonder what they're going to think that was used for. Some ritual object, maybe? Could be. So anyway, this poem, you can take it with you. Exhibit 1. Imagine your favorite chair, body curved into a seated form, an adoring cat, an open book, flat, about to turn a page, a pool of light spilling over the brim. This could be a sculpture set on a shelf in a shadow box, a limited edition of 10, a gift for a friend to remember. In 12,000 years of dust, and voila, you're in a museum on a shelf with a tag and label, Ritual Sacrifices in America. Maybe they think you were a goddess with your legs hooked in a bow, with a cat in the book and your pedestal perched below. Next to you looms another still life, a tableau of family. Prone in front of a blue box, staring into tomorrow. They put you in juxtaposition there next to the typical American family, and you cannot change the station. Peruvian, this is exhibit 2. Peruvian drinking vessels made for corn beer. So many libations of maize, it would make your head spin. But no image of the female anywhere, except one isolated piece displaying a rutting stag and curious doe with a face not fully carved. Plaque after plaque proclaims fertility vital to society with not a female in sight. Exhibit 3. The 4,000-year-old Egyptian priest still has head hair, toenails, teeth, stretched skin, thin black leather taut against his cheek. The ivory worth saving, but bread was tough with small stones wearing away enamel down to his nerve. The afterlife etched into sarcophagus, along with accounts of days, lined up above his linear leather, an accountant of his firm. I wonder what accounts and meager marks of today will remain unsummed and uncollected. Exhibit 4. To early Americans, being eaten by coyotes after dying was a cycle to mark the way, with no remains but scat on stone to mark the story. No need to drag a burden with you or leave trinkets behind for others to decipher down the path. This is one way to take the world with you. Exhibit 5. A pair of National Geographic footprints reveal the mark of upright man toed in the sand. Later they will find our boot prints and think we had no toes. Ancient graffiti on walls of caves, parallel designs on freeway signs, sprayed with a visual scent until the can is spent. Someone squats and reads this. Then or now, same thing. Exhibit 6. Brass snaps in an ash tin from grandfather's overalls rattle when you shake them. You open the box and have no cough, inhaling him in, or have to cough, inhaling him in. A grandmother stashed with her potash in a vessel on the top shelf in the back of the closet above. Those dresses no one can wear and no one can bear to throw away, yet they will. The last one, because you have to have this flourishing finish, right? And it's short. A spoonful of ashes in your own drawer for display. End it this way. quite a few death poems out there, but I thought I would, and this is possibly the lead poem, maybe, in the book. It's called Variations on a Skipping Stone. There are a lot of poems about water. See all the rivers coming in here, American River, and what else was that river? And I crossed the Moke, of course, and the what? Yeah. Yeah. What was that? Casunas, that was it. Nice little river. This is called Variations on a Skipping Stone. So think those days when you were a child, and it took forever all day to get your little stash, your little pile. Remember that? No? Stuck them in your pockets, just perfect, right? You find the right ones? Yeah. I found a perfect skipping stone and waited for a perfect time. I found a perfect skipping stone and wind convinced me otherwise. I found a faulty skipping stone and it skipped me countless times. I found a perfect skipping stone and threw it perfectly wrong. I never found a skipping stone that yearned for water. Since we're on water, I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Kern River. It's kind of I grew up with that area. I forget the number of drownings there below the dam. They had like 100 and something, and people love to take the inner tubes down there. We used to do that as a kid, and I hadn't realized just how dangerous it was. You just don't think about it, and that's true. Life is dangerous. We forget. Just driving along. This is called Drowning at the Kern, and I don't want to make you sad, but there's beauty in death in some ways, and it makes us think. It makes us really love being alive. It's called Drowning at the Kern. Trout expose themselves, flippant silver streaks. White water turns a slow blue. Quiet comes to the river as mudsuckers in 2-foot pools turn and turn uneasily. William? William! The river trickles to a halt from the shutoff above, exposes the crying of a woman waist deep in her rival. William! William! She drags toward shore, her feet stones, blue clothes cling like wet plants, hair runs, snag her shoulders in algaed strands. William! Her arms drip, body pulls down, trying to root. She rolls into a ball in the sand, head down in her legs. She's curled into herself, alive. Her feet stick out, large and white. The fish swim in shallow pools, slowly visible. Think water is still white, hiding their moves. Divers drag William out of the river, cover him with blankets, and shiver. The bottoms of his flat feet glisten frozen like ghost trout, suddenly splitting the surface. William! The woman unravels herself and flops into what was once love. They try to peel her away, and she fights them to stay. William! They were married just yesterday. Someone whispers, what a shame. Willows rustle and wind agrees while a mouse skitters among the leaves. River starts to rise, covers exposed shoulders of boulders and banks, and covers what once was, what once is. And so many of you have done this, cleaning fish, right? Remember that? Scales flipping all over your hair, and remembering to find the exact spot, open up that fish. And anyway, this is called cleaning fish. And thank you, Elizabeth Bishop, for a wonderful rainbow fish. Take a fish, any fish, let's say a black bass, or iridescent rainbow trout after it has stopped flopping in the sink, its dull eye fixed on an isolated splash, before it slips down into darker water. Take what remains of slippery and hold it still, under the blade, while some scales flip into the drink, and others fly free as if to attach again. Slimy silver moons weigh in light heavy. Why not hold aside to start and pinpoint where guts reside, then plant the knife tip for a slit as a slant hand slips a bit? The one eye squeeze and shut will sharpen a drain of senses, and ooze of essence as the next step is not so clean. I'm going to switch a little from water and take you to a very dastardly poem. And it's called Venial Sin. And you all have done these little things and not gotten caught. Yes, you have. And I'm going to list them all right here. so you will feel we're in good company, because I probably have done some of these. Maybe. I've done 1, 2. You never returned that library book tucked under your arm? The pen that found itself in your pocket wasn't yours to pilfer? The candy you snatched from the baby stopped your throat. The heart you stole bore you down. The lion whose cage you opened followed you home and yawned. The mirror borrowed permanently slipped and cracked your fate. The words you plagiarized lodged in a crevice. No stone to remember by, you forgot too soon. Next time when you get the urge, try thieving time and see where it gets you. Hidden under granite, a piece of grit in your tooth. Better to leave the clock alone with its flailing hands and try lifting an easier mark, something that just slipped your mind. Say a handful of rainbow your watch threw on the wall before it fell. This one is sad. Are there any vegetarians in here?
Yes.
Close your ears. I'm a rancher's wife, and I'm proud of him. He works very hard. We don't make any money, but he loves it. And this one is dedicated to the first time we had to eliminate one of our, what started out as grass eaters, pets, and fire danger keepers. So it's called Chester and the Bluebird. Chester, that day when you pressed your late spring nose to the rim of the black barbecue vessel, I sensed you were aware of a twist in fate, as if slated to become steak and a future repast at last. It was a Gary Larson moment, with my mini pitchfork in hand, and a ring of bovine around me circling the campfire. Kind as curious as cats, you all whiskered close to the rim of the kettle, ready to singe a lip or nose. You were the boldest, with neck outstretched, juicy lawn forgotten, when curled smoke dove into that wide, wet pink nostril. Next thing I knew, a man drove up, severed heads lolling in a side compartment of his truck, who deliberately asked, "Where is he?" I led him to your gate, after tempting you sorely with the last alfalfa supper that you left unfinished. Then the settling of knives descended, and in 45 minutes you were hooked, hanged, loaded, dangling, done and undone. Your relatives in the pasture sniffed drying blood of your passing and mourned as water drops slipped in red trails below their eyes. 3 weeks later, in true form, your replacements arrived, swaddled in white packages nestled in solid brown crates. I sorted each section of harvest, the roasts, rump and chuck, stew meat, fresh liver, ground round. Then the steaks, rib, sirloin tip, porterhouse, T-bone, chuck flank, and a bag of bones for the dogs, the cloven parts neatly tucked into the upright freezer with room to spare. The second coming arrived months later. The first barbecue of summer rolled out, the black kettle, like a dry cauldron. Tears spilled and sizzled on the grill when I tried to lay that first reluctant slab down. As the fork descended, a nearby looming pine sent out a deep blue sprite shadow to dance on my outstretched hand. The feather-soft bluebird balanced on my wrist, surveyed the grate, then slipped me the eye, and I froze in still life. What do you know when a kiss of sky alights, begins, writes itself, then is gone, just like that. What kind of moment is it when the sky bends down to check on one of its own? And, do I have time for another one? Or
Yes, come on.
And this one is another death poem. I'm so sorry. And there's a bird, though, so that's okay. Because birds are messengers from the gods, right, from that last poem? But this is called Yellow the Dead Canary. I can't let my dad read this poem because it was his fault. Yellow the Dead Canary. Upside down dead, little feet tangled green in the asparagus fern. Daddy said deep, dig a hole dark, lay him in soft. He tapped 2 twigs crossed and stuck in the dust. Daddy said the yellow canary would fly to heaven. So I clawed the dirt each early morning to see the draggled wings, shriveled claws, twisted head. He was still there, stiff, curled, dirty yellow in a shredded tissue bed, until one day I stopped digging and caved in. Yellowbirds make me mad.
Person here, a local writer, not only a poet but a storyteller, a goddess. Ooh.
Yes.
Yes. I don't want to say shaman's not appropriate, is it? Or am I going too far? Am I going too far with shaman?
Sean?
Sean?
No, I don't claim to be a shaman.
Okay, she doesn't claim to be a shaman. But she is a teller of tales, which is available out there. This has been around for a little while.
Has a long time.
Yeah. I think they're running low, so if you are interested in getting, this is not only poems, but stories in here. I have copies on my shelf, and I've given a few of these away myself. It's wonderful, and as I said, it's not only poems, there's stories in here, and even ballads, I believe, the Sam stuff. She also has a new CD,
Playwright.
a relatively new
Playwright.
CD. Playwright, yes, that's true. With
Priest.
Catherine Smith, she's been worked on.
Painter?
A painter, yes, a gardener, a crippled gardener.
I'm not a gardener. I kill plants.
And she also has originals. This is 42 poems by Christine Irving set to original music. And a lovely drawing here. Who did the art?
A friend of mine.
Friend of yours? It's very capturing, but I noticed, did you ask her to put dark hair?
Well, it was.
Okay, I'll let it go. I'll let it go. You guys will see what I'm talking about in a minute. And she also recently has, this is fairly new, just a few months, and this is co-authored with Noel Croplin from 6 Foot Swells. It's After Hours Poetry by Christine Irving and Noel Croplin. This is a wonderful piece to have on the shelf, too. And another thing is, if you guys should have the opportunity, should have the dough to invest in your personal library, the authors are here to sign these things this evening for you. So, and she is, a little quick story, she broke her elbow in the garden, so, or her wrist, but it looks like all the way up to the elbow.
It is.
So we'll just say arm, what the hell. And she is lovely and enchanting, and if she should decide to read a sensual poem tonight, you will see a side of her that I absolutely love. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Christine Irving.
So it's almost solstice, and for us pagans, it's a really important day. So I'm starting with the Lord and the Lady, and we'll start with the Lady. Invoking Amaterasu. Reveal your face, O shining one. Leave the deep windings of the mother's cave. Abandon sorrow. Bury old grudges like excrement in some forgotten corner. Listen, your creatures stand on the threshold awaiting your return. Soft click of scale, rustle of settling wing. Come forth, resplendent one, see your beauty reflected in each countenance, eager eyes open to your light. You are our queen, our hearth, our solace, our delight. Do not turn your countenance away. Come forth, O sun, bring us a longer day. So, to the liege lord. Where all flows round me, where all flows through me, where eyes can hear, where ears can see, this is where I live forever. I am leaf mold, decaying aromatic duff, crumbling to rich fertile soil. I am black trumpet, chanterelle, morel, thrusting up through forest floor, rough bark of oak, upright trunk pushing into sky. I am he who separates, penetrates, quickens creation, fires inspiration. Knight to the maiden, lover to the mother, servant to the crone. I am the green man, the holy man, or-horned consort, summer god, sacrifice, radiant child, sun lover, sworn body and bone to my goddess, but free to roam her stars. I am the green man. This is where I live forever. I know I've told bunches of you this story, but I have to tell you, years ago, Chris Olander told me that when you get up on the stage, you're standing in sacred space. So I just want you to know, when I'm up here, I am standing in sacred space. Okay. Now I couldn't come up here with a broken arm without writing about it. So, nada. I suppose I could write a poem about tumbling down the garden steps, hitting my head on a faucet handle so hard I saw white light, feared for one split second angels had come for me, how my arm burned, how blood dripping down my neck, confused and frightened. Or I could versify my need for a break, how often of late I declared, I long to do nothing, can't, won't, don't want to care for one more stricken parent, neurotic friend, wounded animal, or crumbling charity. Someday I'll write that poem. I'll write about murder mysteries and American Idol, fabulous dreams, exquisite masturbation, silence, and enough solitude I've actually stopped cringing every time the phone rings. If there's ever a next time when nothing's better to do than nothing, I'll write that poem. So, back to myth, Medusa. You know the story. How Perseus, on his flying horse, pursuing some quest or another, undertook to slay the Gorgon, tricking her with mirrors, decapitating the monster, and stealing her head. It's true as any myth, twisted to misdirect a people's memory. Conquerors often rewrite history, stealing old beliefs, twisting them into new patterns which writhe and wreathe like serpents twining round an apple tree. In fact, her gaze did turn men to stone. For this, she wore a veil, hiding her mysteries, blessing humankind with small mercies, of ignorance and scale, lest we go screaming mad midst endless whirling galaxies and far infinities of space. And yes, her veins ran wise, red, cunning blood. The slayer stole 2 drops, put them in a pendant, one for life, one for death. He had a small imagination, forgetting mothers, aunts, sisters, dancing in fields, red drops sliding down white thighs and brown, feeding yam, wise, maize, manioc, and rye with lifeblood. See him flash his magic sword, bright as a magician's mirror. Watch him trade 700 seasons of renewal for one more mortal moment. And I ask you, who is tricking who? So I'm a great believer in synchronicity, and Monica read those death poems, which really got to me. And I've got some death poems too. So, A Lover's Homily. There is no love without accompanying death, for green weeds flourish in love's fertile field. Love needs her scythe to cut a place for breath, a sacred circle, unconcerned with yield. Needs clip off withered roses dear and dead, stop them dispatching sweet romantic scent, to waft around the present love's sweet bed, replacing lustful joy with sad lament. Must cut back sheltering branches of the oak, whose shade may reach too far across a lawn and blight the bud with shadow's heavy stroke, which might have bloomed in flowers of the dawn. If thou would love, set Lady Death a place at wedding's feast, and ask her to say grace. Day of the Dead. Remember Odysseus? Wanting answers, he dug a trench, added milk, barley, water, wine, and finally blood to feed the dead. I own a skull, gray, crumbling, papier-mâché, staring apertures rimmed in turquoise glitz, gold teeth glittering, lipless mouth outlined in neon, ghost pituitary, throbbing behind the painted cross, blinding its third eye. I named it Lucy, African ancestor, silent witness. For a year or two, Lucy hung on my stairwell, jumping off the wall, tumbling downstairs like an evil omen, till I, weary of portent, gave her to Tonancin's heir, Dark Madonna of Mexico, placed the skull on Lupe's altar, and fed it fire, dangerous dancing candlelight, flickering toward combustible bone. Maybe it needs blood to speak. When Samhain thins the veil between our worlds, I'll strew altar table with marigolds and bread, clench a branch of briar in my fist, drip red drops into the flame, place battered cranium upon my pillow, and listen to it dream. This poem is called Midnight in Nuremberg, and it came out of an exercise with Donna Hanlon where she had to us take a poem by Margaret Atwood, The Pink Hotel. And we went down line by line and made each line our own in her style. And it was a really interesting thing to do and evoked a really old memory for me. The last 2 lines are Margaret's, not mine. They're killer, but don't give me credit for them. Okay. Midnight in Nuremberg. 1. My father throws off his hat, dances me on polished shoes. It's 1951. His uniform smells of whiskey and cigarettes. My nose smudges the bright brass buckle of his belt. I sleep in the attic where the wooden closet creaks because something lives inside it. Night tremors shake the room, swing tight shut doors apart. Far below, my mother slams angry words together. This is danger and delight, my mother's rage, dancing with Daddy. It's 1951. We ride to the cinema along bombed-out bus routes. Everyone loves little Heidi in the German movie that's happening elsewhere. 2. Nuremberg, 1981. Nuremberg, 1981. Dur's print shop, 12th century, bombed to oblivion, now perfectly restored. Isn't there enough of the past without making more? Dance music filters through my hotel wall. I dream Dur is printing our family history, illustrating my parents' war crime for this jury of one. Again and again, I flip through his evidence. Each time, my verdict changes. This is Nuremberg, where everything recurs and nothing is elsewhere. So, a change of pace, a couple of love poems. Your fond gaze. Your fond gaze stirred my wayward lips to smile, tripped tongue, tangled words. Regaining face, I recast fumbled lines, but could not quiet the merry riot of this pleasured heart. If only I had kept a pen beside the bed. I awoke with poetry in mind, a song complete and sweet with rhyme, a sonnet birth twixt worlds of sleep and wake, composed complete for thy dear sake. But alas, the act of stepping forth dislodged my words, veiled their source, leaving but this parody of that lush blooming meant for thee. Dear night, dear night, though you eschew mud, hoping for cleansing, leaping always toward the light, matter stubbornly remains the matrix of my. Dear night, though you eschew mud, hoping for cleansing, leaping always toward the light, matter stubbornly remains the matrix of my soul, demanding propitiation. Staining cheeks pink, galloping the heart, spewing sweat and pheromones. Therefore, I honor mud, as any priestess must, asking questions of liver, spleen, lungs, viscera. Are you salty, sweet, hot, cool, wet, dry, lethargic, quickened? How else locate meridians of the soul? Descry wisdom. Unearth a magic word to open the universe. This is a really silly poem, but I really like this poem. I had it for a long time. Be careful not to hold too tight to dreams. Remember Monkey, who stuck her hand inside a narrow-necked jar of nuts and died of starvation, refusing to uncramp her fear-filled fist? She should have fought, slammed trapped fist against tree trunk, rock of her own hard head, risking cut, scar, and blinding memory to win free and keep her own. How could she trade raptured vaults of green, wild sway of tight-sprung branch, releasing mango, banana, guava to the practiced twist of an almost human hand, for a dry clutch of peanuts raised in curried fields? Why not let go, forgo, chase sweeter pleasures, wilder dreams, or squat in solemn meditation and shake the damn nuts one by one into her cupped but open palm.
Great visual.
Okay. This is a poem from Crazy Wisdom, so which was the play Catherine and I did a little while ago, and we did a set on Kali and rage, and this was from that. It's called The Bastard. It broke my heart to find him fooling around. He twisted trust, flaunted faith. I howled in pain, beat my breast, tore my hair like those old Greek women in that movie. If I'd had ashes, I'd have smeared them like they did, all over my body. As it was, I did my grieving in private. He never saw the worst, not the worst grief, nor the worst anger, because that's what came next. Rage, red, black, terrible, vast pictures of destruction filled my head. Fantasies, I guess you'd call them, like punching his face in with big fists till his mouth was bloody and his teeth broke, and he felt the pain in my heart as pain to his body. Mad with grief, I took a lover and got mad again for what I'd been missing all those years. Being faithful. It didn't seem right, him fooling around while I tossed and turned in the empty nuptial bed. But what can I do? The bastard stole my heart too long ago. To get it back now. No, that was a long time ago.
You're way over.
Wait. Questions. Questions. Have you suffered times when paradigms shift, presumption crumbles, and life changes course forever? Have you howled aloud for what is lost, looking back to a fool's paradise when you could curb your prowling fear? Discount the subtle shift of eye that roams away and back so cagily any other woman would guess at once what you don't want to know. Did it feel like you spent 40 years sucked dry of life, that everyone died, leaving you alone? Did life return anyway, like blood prickling into a sleeping limb? Summer came, and fall was not displaced by fear. Sun moved through its set time. Though you knew despair, the moon never lost her place or missed a shift. Questions are not everything. Mind is not the answer. Wisdom lives in the body, each cell a fractal replica of some far swirling galaxy. And what if consciousness is all a game of mirrors and undulating smoke? Does not light itself move from particulate to wave and back again in endless flux? Life always makes short shift of that which wants the same again. Matter forms to be lost. Pain and fear mutate to grace. No constant you can know exists, but there is happiness at times, and the light from a million empty stars still shines. So here's the I don't know if I want to, antidote is not the right word. This is anyway, this marriage. I wrote this poem because I was in Moen Zelinsky Gallery, and speaking of, where's Monica? Speaking of engraving things in stone, John Moen engraves Rumi poems and poems from Hafiz in stone, and I was kind of looking around, and there was one way up, and I couldn't even reach it, but I could read it, and it was called This Marriage, and it was just this yummy, delicious, all this food. It was just great. So I went home and read this poem. This marriage, unlikely tree, graft of oak and apple, roots sunk deep in disparate soils. This marriage, apple wine aged in oaken barrels, tangy, sweet, potent. Trace of bitter tannin, cyanide and ash, deepening savor, intensifying flavor. This marriage, this mystery, this endless conversation, 1,000 rustling leaves. Glance, touch, embrace, dance apart, come together. Fall, die, rebud, flower. This marriage. Okay, how are we doing? I'm getting there. Yeah. Okay. I'll skip it. Well, I have to read this one because I brought this one because Quail's coming and she loves herons, and so this is for her. Teaching story. Heron startles me, rises unexpectedly from the shelter of a ditch. Taking my breath, he circles sugar pine, landing to stand sentinel, ruffed in needles, totem telling stories. Wading birds apportion watery territory, assigning depth to tall fisherfolk, warm shallows to the shortened lake. Margins are strict, but narrow bands of opportunity reach 100 miles to either side. Blue against green, a feather falls. I thrust quill into silver braid, continue ambling my own narrow path. It too can stretch to encircle the globe. Okay, two more. This one's for Bill. 31 flavors. Sometimes I watch the men at Baskin-Robbins, checking out the way they lick their cones. Prissy ones with narrow tongues, furrowing a spiral groove around one neat scoop of low-fat, no-sugar mocha gelato. Sloppy ones, back too soon for seconds, lapping up their double dips like St. Bernard's reviving a frozen woman. I prefer those who take their cones slow, sticking to mainstream flavors, Rocky Road, mint chip, rum raisin. I love to watch their tongue tease bits of marshmallow from frozen cream, staying with them while it melts, gazing at the place where neck meets jaw, waiting for the tiny clench of muscle as they begin the swallow. The men I like pace themselves, sliding sticky lips around the edges, mounding the sweet mass together, thrusting it down the center, relishing a final burst of flavor just before the cone softens completely. You guys are so easy, huh? Okay, so I'm going to end with a boast. This one came out of Molly Fisk's class, and she said we should all write a boast, so we did. The boast. Lovers of leaving, caravaneers, nomads, come hear my boast. For on a night like this, when ghosts prowl the edge of the light circle, only a boast will firm your jelly knees and warm the back you have turned to the cold. I, Christine, can walk an extra mile to the edge of the abyss and dare a leap. I can suckle children and grown men and love in the face of loneliness. I will walk head up, time after time, into the lodges of unfamiliar tribes and hold my own. I can make a home, a tent, trailer, tenement, cave, cabin, mansion, automobile. I can learn new ways, adjust to novel patterns, drop old habits, and retain integrity. These skills are mine. Tell me yours.
Thank you for that delicious poem. You know how to get to me every time. Anyway, I do want to thank these two lovely writers and performers. Monica Rose, hiding in the corner up here. And our not so disabled, Christine Irving. Next guy is the newly published author, and he will be our feature reader in September, along with Richard Gill, a couple of wonderful storytellers here and the writers and creators of ballads and other interesting things. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Sam Mills.
You just inspired me to write a poem about my brother, who died when I was 12 and he was 16, and I've never written a poem about that. And I'm gonna.
I'll tell myself.
Yeah. But this is a different kind of thing altogether. And we're going to go from the mud to the clouds. It's called Clouds Cafe. Two angels greet at Clouds Cafe. It's ages since they met. After a warm, ringed embrace, the taller bids the other sit and catch him up on what he's done. For centuries, I've served on a difficult brigade. On leave I am, and needing rest. For where I've marched, it's no parade. The work's been tough, I do not jest, and now I need to have some fun. It's light they crave where I have been, for darkness holds full sway. For every 20 acts of sin, one virtue has its way. Black, heavy clouds block out the sun. My general has never failed, though the enemy is strong. He sent us in with sword and mail to battle hard and long. Feels like the fighting's never done. Tell me, my friend, the other asks, what world is so war-torn to challenge you with such a task that makes you so forlorn? I know of this, I would have none. A planet, small and needing grace, circles a star named Sol. It's there this war is taking place, where air burns hot and cold, and hearts and minds are far from one. But lately, we have gained some ground, though danger still exists. You see, our strategy is sound. The foe is having fits. In fact, they may be on the run. We've had support from up above. To him, this struggle counts. He sent great messengers with love to speak from every mount. It seems their light is hard to shun. Since then, we've pushed with all our might and gained a precious hold. At last, enlightenment's in sight. The enemy may fold, their clever captains looking glum. Yet though the light is plain to see, and their readers in retreat, he's full of tricks and treachery and can't stomach a defeat. I sense our task is far from done. I've battled long. I've seen it through. This break is well received. That's why I've come to visit you and party hard this leave. I fear the worst is yet to come. His friend points to the open door. I'm glad you've come my way. We'll finish here, then off we'll soar to places far away where you and I shall have some fun. And so they rise and fly on out, one tall and fairly lean. The other one is broad and stout, with eyes both drawn and keen. His leave has finally begun.
I think that for a lot of people, when they think about bees, they think about getting stung. Honeybees are essential. They are essential if you want fruits, if you want vegetables, because they pollinate all of those crops.
A lot of people out there don't realize that 1 out of every 3 bites of food they stick in their mouth, these honeybees put on their dinner table.
And without bees taking pollen from one apple tree to another apple tree, you wouldn't get any apples. And we estimate that the value of honeybees is nearly $16 billion in the United States alone.
Something is killing our honeybees in staggering numbers. There's a name for what's happening: colony collapse disorder.
We're defining colony collapse as a condition where we see the rapid loss of the adult bee population.
Here's the beehive these bee scientists found a couple days ago. It was full of bees. 3 hours later, nobody home. Something weird is going on here. Normally, when a hive of bees is dead, first thing that happens, the other bees come in and rob it out. And with this new phenomenon, the boxes are full of honey, and 100 yards away sits another yard of bees that won't even look at this stuff.
Ooh, well, that one's gone.
My take on colony collapse is it is one of the signs, the really unmistakable signs, that our food system is unsustainable.
Bees are an indicator of environmental quality. When the bees are dying, something's wrong.
We put agencies like the EPA in place to moderate the avarice of corporations, and they have not done it. Instead, they've been corrupted.
We're in a war here, and we're going to lose a percentage of our troops consistently. We're going to keep fighting.
We don't have to wait for the government to act on some of these issues. We can do something today.
We are going to try to save them so they won't disappear.
We are starting a biodynamic farm, and in the heart of the farm is a honeybee sanctuary.
Save our bees! Save our agriculture!
Don't show this on camera.
Okay.
You can look at it right here. Matter of fact, just you got the camera off, turn it off.
We can all be energy savers. It's easy. Turn off lights. Use energy-saving light bulbs. And turn off electronics and appliances when not in use. Make a change and we can really fly. Learn more at energy.gov/kids.
Most people around here, when you think of a farmer, it's of the children's fable, Old MacDonald had a farm. and had, chickens and pigs and cows